How terrible can the price be for opening your door to a stranger late at night? The girl felt sorry for the old woman shivering in the freezing snow, so she invited her inside. A moment ago, the old woman was still grateful, saying she was a kind person.
You're going to die.
After saying that, she left behind a strange wooden box and walked away. At first, the girl didn't take it seriously, but soon she was tormented by the box to the point of unbearable pain. What exactly had happened? The girl, Polly, lived alone. To prepare for returning to school as a teacher, she sat at the dining table talking to herself, praying for good luck in tomorrow's interview. Just then, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Polly opened the door and found a slightly nervous old woman standing there. The old woman said she was in trouble and asked Polly to let her use the phone to call her son. Thinking of the freezing weather outside, Polly kindly invited the woman in. Once inside, the old woman kept staring at the family photo on the wall, her expression full of complicated emotions. Her hand, missing a finger, gripped her suitcase tightly. Obviously, she was hiding something. Polly brought her some hot tea and told her to drink to warm up, then asked if she still wanted to make a call. The old woman replied that she was in no hurry, saying the fireplace felt wonderfully warm. Before Polly could respond, the woman suddenly changed the subject, asking whether she was married and if she had any children. Polly replied that she was still single. The old woman said those things couldn't be rushed, adding that Polly already seemed quite successful because the house looked beautiful. Polly explained that the house actually belonged to her sister, Lainey, and she was just renting it. After Lainey and her husband had their daughter, Ailey, they thought the house was too small and moved across the street to a bigger one. The woman wanted to know how old Allie was. Polly said she was almost 6. The woman's face grew even more complicated, as if she was struggling inside. Then she said it was time to begin. She took out a wooden box. Polly asked what she was doing, but the woman ignored her and opened the box, taking out an hourglass.
You're going to die.
Polly looked at her in confusion, while the woman said seriously that she wasn't joking and was deeply sorry. The woman's strange behavior frightened Polly, who asked her to leave immediately. But the woman kept speaking in a solemn tone, insisting Polly must accept reality. Tears welled in her eyes as she warned Polly that she would die tonight, unless she did something to change her fate. Polly thought she was dealing with a lunatic and decided to call the police. But the woman said it was useless and warned her never to tell anyone about this, or the result would be terrible. Polly didn't want to hear more horrifying nonsense. She hastily put the hourglass back into the wooden box and told the old woman to take her things and leave.
They're yours now.
No, I don't want them.
You need them.
No, I want you to get out of my house.
Then Polly escorted her out into the street, telling her to go home. But the woman suddenly called Polly by name. Polly froze on the spot. She had never told the woman her name, so she demanded to know how she knew it. The woman only mumbled incomprehensible words, apologizing repeatedly, begging Polly's forgiveness. Polly felt a wave of unease. Frightened, she rushed back inside, locked the door, and immediately called her mother to explain what had happened. Her mother scolded her for letting a stranger into the house, saying she had no sense of safety. Polly said the woman looked over 80 years old and didn't seem dangerous, but her behavior had been disturbingly strange, even cursing that she would die tonight. While they were talking, Polly looked outside and saw that the old woman had already left. She opened the door to check and found that the woman had left the wooden box behind. Her mother, hearing this, said the woman might be part of a cult or suffering from dementia and told Polly to ignore her. Then she reminded Polly to stop overthinking and focus on tomorrow's interview. Polly thought that made sense and asked her mother to help her pick an outfit for the interview. She started trying on clothes, taking photos, and sending them to her mother. After changing a few sets, she sat on the sofa looking at the photos, completely unaware of the dark shadow moving slowly behind her in the mirror. Polly didn't know who had just shouted behind her and thought it was a hallucination caused by stress. Terrified, she ran downstairs, lit a cigarette, and tried to calm her nerves, but the fear in her heart wouldn't go away. So she called her mother again, saying she was going insane because someone had shouted behind her. Yet when she turned around, no one was there. The strangest thing was, when she recalled that smell, it felt like it was her mother's. Her mother said she had been home the whole time and asked if someone had broken in, telling Polly to check her closets and any place where someone could hide. Polly searched everywhere but found nothing. Her mother comforted her, saying that anxiety often makes people imagine things. Polly agreed and said goodnight. As she was about to tap her cigarette ash, she suddenly saw the wooden box sitting on the coffee table. Polly froze in terror and told her mother that something evil was haunting her because the box had somehow returned by itself. She clearly remembered not bringing it back inside. Polly opened the box cautiously and saw the hourglass still inside. She picked it up carefully, but to her shock, the sand inside wasn't falling at all. Polly told her mother about it.
I'm not your mother.
What? No, stop it.
Are you listening? You're gonna die.
Then her mother suddenly started singing a creepy nursery rhyme through the phone. Polly panicked and wanted to run away, but at that moment, the doorbell began to ring violently and someone started pounding on the door. She stood frozen, not knowing what to do, when her phone rang again. Trembling, she answered, only to hear a woman's cold voice telling her once more that she would die tonight.
Unless. Look at the box! Look at it!
The voice then ordered Polly to put 3 things into the box. Something she hated most, something she needed most, and something she loved most. The woman warned her not to cheat, because if she tried to trick the box, it would never end. Then the call was cut off. Polly was overwhelmed, chain-smoking one cigarette after another in panic. Realizing she had no choice, she began thinking about what she hated most. As she puffed hard on her cigarette, inspiration suddenly struck her. She hated smoking itself but couldn't quit no matter how hard she tried. Maybe that was what she hated the most. So she placed the cigarette into the box. After a few seconds, she opened the box to check, but saw nothing had changed. Polly laughed bitterly, thinking she was truly losing her mind. She was about to end this madness when suddenly the hourglass started running. Polly grabbed her throat in horror, feeling as if she were choking, unable to breathe. It was as if something invisible was blocking her airway. She coughed violently, gasping for air. Moments later, she vomited a small key. The fear consumed her entire body. Polly ran out of the house, rushing to her neighbor's door, saying her phone was broken and begging to use theirs to call the police. The neighbor told her to wait inside since she and her husband were on an important call. Polly insisted her situation was urgent, but the neighbor continued chatting on the phone. But while she was still on the phone, she suddenly looked at Polly and said, "She's come for me." Polly didn't understand what she meant. The next second, the woman stabbed a knife upright into the table. Before Polly could react, a deep gash appeared across the woman's face, blood gushing out, but she didn't seem to feel pain.
Wherever you are, you're nowhere.
Then the woman continued mutilating herself in horror as Polly watched helplessly. Polly was speechless, trying to stop the bleeding, but the neighbor suddenly convulsed and snarled that no one could escape this curse. It was clearly punishment for Polly's disobedience. With those words, the woman collapsed and died. Polly forced herself to look at the body and saw the sentence, "How dare you?" carved into her chest. Realizing she had caused all of this, Polly ran home in terror and trembled as she washed the blood from her hands. Too scared to think, she lit another cigarette and tried to turn on her phone again, but it still wouldn't start. Seeing the hourglass still running terrified her even more. It was like a countdown to death. She smashed the hourglass to the floor, but within seconds it reappeared on the table, completely intact. Then the family photo on the wall suddenly fell, shattering into pieces. Polly approached in fear to take a closer look. At that moment, the phone she couldn't turn on started ringing again. She felt like she was being driven insane. She picked it up and saw the call was from her father. But her father had been dead for years. Obviously, something unholy was playing with her. She answered the call, crying that she had already done what was asked, but nothing had changed. The voice on the other end accused her of lying, saying cigarettes were not what she truly hated. She had to face her real fear. Polly slowly picked up the key from the floor. She went to the cloakroom and opened a hidden chest filled with photos of her father during his illness. Her heart filled with sorrow, but she didn't have time to grieve. When her father was dying, Polly had prayed desperately to Jesus, but he still passed away. Since then, she had lost faith and hated God for doing nothing. So the thing she hated most was Jesus. She grabbed her cross necklace, planning to leave, but found she couldn't open the door of the closet no matter how hard she tried. Feeling something behind her, Polly turned around nervously, searching everywhere. She looked behind the hanging clothes but saw nothing. Where had it gone? The next second, the door burst open and Polly fell hard to the ground. Before she could get up, something unseen grabbed her arm. She struggled desperately to break free, realizing she had to act fast. Quickly, she threw the cross necklace into the box. A few seconds later, the necklace vanished, but the hourglass was still running fast. She didn't know what to do next. Suddenly, she heard a strange noise nearby. Polly looked toward the mirror and saw her reflection smiling eerily at her. Then the reflection raised a pair of scissors and began banging them against the mirror, screaming that she would die soon. The moment the mirror shattered, a pair of scissors appeared in Polly's hand.
Oh my God.
Polly felt her heart was about to burst. Just then, her sister called. Lainey said she had been trying to reach her for the past 20 minutes, but no one answered. She asked Polly when she would arrive. Polly was completely confused because she had never said she was coming over. Lainey asked if she was joking. She had just called earlier saying she was on her way, and now she was pretending not to remember. Lainey added that she had already seen her car outside. If she was here, why hadn't she come in? When Polly realized there was another her, she panicked and screamed at her sister not to open the door. Then she rushed toward the entrance to go to her sister's house, but when she unlocked every latch, she was shocked to find the door wouldn't open. Frightened, she ran to the back door, but it was the same, completely sealed shut. Even the windows were locked tight. She tried smashing the glass with a chair but failed. Polly broke down and screamed at the box, asking what it wanted from her. At that moment, the TV suddenly turned on by itself. On the screen appeared her little niece, Ailey. Polly ran closer in panic, but then the camera zoomed in on Ailey's toes. The next second, Ailey's face was splattered with blood. Polly shouted for it to stop and frantically pulled out the power cord. But the image didn't disappear. It seemed to be urging her to act, fearing that if she disobeyed, Allie would get hurt. Polly looked at the scissors in her hand. Gritting her teeth, she cut off her own toe. When she put it into the box, the TV finally went dark. Polly quickly wrapped her bleeding foot with trembling hands.
Quit your crying!
A moment later, she opened the box again and saw her toe still inside. Despair filled her eyes as she shouted at the box for making a fool of her, demanding to know what it would take to end this nightmare. Just as she finished speaking, the TV flickered back on. Hearing Ailey's terrified screams, Polly begged the evil spirit to stop, saying she would do anything as long as it didn't hurt little Allie. At that moment, the image on the screen showed Allie raising one finger. Polly understood what it wanted. Terrified, she obeyed, cutting off her finger and throwing it into the box. Darkness swallowed the room. By the dim light of the fire, Polly wrapped her bleeding hand in a shirt. Then she carefully opened the box again. This time, the finger was gone, and the front door creaked open by itself. Polly grabbed her keys and rushed out, driving straight to her sister's house. She shouted for them as she entered, but no one answered. Sensing something was wrong, Polly ran upstairs to the bedroom, only to find her sister lying lifeless on the bed. Her niece was also dead. Polly broke down, sobbing and hugging the cold bodies, regretting ever letting that stranger into her home. Just then, music suddenly started playing downstairs. In despair, Polly went down to turn it off. As she glanced to the side, she saw the wooden box sitting there again. Even stranger, every phone in the house started ringing at once. Polly answered one. It was Allie's voice on the other end. The voice told her to finish the task and find the thing she loved most. Polly said the person she loved most was Allie. Then she picked up a knife and went upstairs. The voice on the phone told her to cut off Allie's nose and put it into the box, or to cut off her eyes or ears. But Polly couldn't do it. Instead, she gently cut off a strand of Ailey's hair. She wanted to return to teaching for Ailey's sake. Ailey meant everything to her. How could she possibly harm the child she loved? The voice on the phone grew angry, warning that putting in the wrong item could have dire consequences. But Polly still placed the hair into the box. To her surprise, the hair vanished, and her sister came back to life. Polly was stunned and ran to Allie's room, seeing the girl alive and smiling. Overjoyed, she hugged her tightly, crying with relief. But within seconds, dark spots began appearing across Allie's face.
This little piggy.
Realizing the person in front of her wasn't really Allie, Polly collapsed to the floor. She trembled and crawled backward as Allie pinned her down, whispering, "I love you," then plunged a knife straight into Polly's face. The next moment, Polly woke up at the dining table. The wooden box sat before her, and the hourglass was still running. She shouted at it, demanding to know what it wanted, and threw her ring and necklace into the box. They disappeared, but the hourglass still didn't stop. Desperate, Polly squeezed blood from her wounds and let it drip into the box. She struggled violently, barely managing to free herself. She couldn't understand what else it wanted. Then she remembered. The old woman. She too had wrapped her hand with bandages that night. That meant the woman had suffered the same torment. Polly realized the box might want to be passed on. With that thought, she grabbed the box and started knocking on doors. Finally, a young girl opened and asked what was going on. Polly lied, saying she was visiting relatives nearby, but they weren't home yet, and it was too cold outside. She asked if she could come in to warm up. The girl hesitated and said her parents would be back soon. They didn't like strangers in the house. Polly begged pitifully, promising she'd only stay for a moment. Unable to refuse, the girl finally let her in. But Polly couldn't bring herself to speak. She didn't want to bring pain to someone so kind. Just then, the girl went aside to answer a phone call. Polly sat nervously, glancing around, her eyes falling on a cute little cat. The struggle inside her was unbearable. In the end, she took out the hourglass. When she learned the girl's name was Tara, Polly began muttering nonsense like the old woman had. Frightened, Tara hurriedly asked her to leave. Before leaving, Polly kept apologizing again and again, then walked away in despair. Polly thought everything was finally over, but unexpectedly, the old woman returned holding the wooden box. She said the box still wouldn't let her go, and that the only way to end it was to kill Polly. As soon as she finished speaking, she launched a furious attack. Polly screamed and fought back with all her strength. During the struggle, the old woman was overpowered and pinned to the floor, until, at last, she lay there waiting for death to come. Polly stared at her and asked why she had chosen her. The woman said the people chosen by the box were always the broken ones. But she believed Polly was a good person. Still, fear of death had made her selfish and cruel. She begged Polly not to forget her own kindness and said that perhaps not fearing death was the only way to break the curse. After the old woman died, Polly stared blankly at the hourglass, screaming in despair until she fainted. The next morning, her sister, brother-in-law, and Allie woke up and went downstairs. They were shocked to find the living room in complete chaos, not knowing what had happened during the night. The scene shifted. Polly woke up in her own bed. She looked down at her hand and saw a missing finger. She realized everything about the box had been real. She walked outside in confusion and saw her neighbor, the one who had died, now alive and sweeping snow as if nothing had happened. She couldn't understand what was going on. Then Polly drove to her sister's house. Seeing Allie safe and sound, she finally breathed a sigh of relief and hugged the little girl tightly, spinning her around in joy. Allie noticed the injury on her face, gently touched it, and asked what had happened. But how could Polly possibly explain? She just told Allie to go home and stay safe. Then Polly walked to Tara's house and rang the doorbell. When Tara appeared, Polly asked her to return the wooden box, saying she regretted passing it on to someone else and that kind people shouldn't suffer such a tragic fate. But Tara looked confused and said she didn't know what Polly was talking about. She claimed she had never seen her before and that she and her parents had just returned from vacation that morning. She couldn't understand a word Polly said. Polly was stunned. The terrible events of the previous night were all jumbled in her mind. Even her dead neighbor had come back to life, so maybe she really was mistaken. Not wanting to disturb Tara any further, Polly turned and walked away. In the distance, she saw her sister and Allie playing happily in the snow. Tears streamed down Polly's face as she silently thanked heaven that they were still alive. Just then, her phone rang again. That same dreadful feeling crept over her. But this time, she didn't answer. On the other side, Tara looked out the window and saw Polly leaving. Her face went blank, like a puppet without emotion, and she turned to walk back inside. As the camera moved, words written in blood covered the walls, warning her not to trust anyone. Tara's mutilated hands trembled as she lifted the wooden box, placing several items into it one by one. As the camera pulled back, 2 bodies could be seen lying in a pool of blood nearby. It seemed Tara had sacrificed the people she loved most. The film ended here. If you enjoyed my narration, please subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me. See you in the next video.